Well, on the eve of Valentine's Day, doing a story and an interview on a book called Becoming a Power Couple, Four Pillars to Engineer Legendary Marriage, it seemed like the perfect fit for not only this interview, but also you'll read at the suburban.com and the FYI magazine my profile on this author in this book. It's Gabriela Embon who's joining me right now. Gabriela, congratulations on a fabulous book.
Thank you so much, Mike. I'm excited for our conversation.
Yeah, so am I, and I'm glad that you reached out to me. What really got me right away was your story that you canceled your wedding just a month before the date, and then you went ahead and married the man that you saw in a dream. That was 26 years ago. You have three beautiful kids, golden retriever, and tell me about that story first, please.
Yes, so I was quite young and I was engaged with someone that I've been dating for a few years. And a month before the wedding, now our relationship was nothing but smooth, let's put it that way. A month before the wedding, I had a dream. And as I was entering the altar, when that person waiting for me turned around, it just wasn't my fiance.
Hmm.
It was someone I knew that we were friends. And I remember it was more like a vivid dream. I remember, or a lucid dream, saying, "Oh, this is not what I thought it would be." So the next day, I I had the dream very vividly, right? That memory, and I got into I was on the phone with my fiance, and I don't know what happened to me. I just the words came out of my mouth, I'm canceling the wedding. But we were having an argument. I think that the universe guided the situation to be perfect. It kind of set the stage for me. We were having one among many other arguments we used to have, and I just said, that's it, it's over, I'm canceling the wedding. Yeah.
But everything turned out beautiful because you are happily married for many years right now.
Yes, in fact, this morning as I was having a coffee, I told my husband, you know how people in their podcast they have the a mag with the logo of their brand. I said, we have this mag. I think
Isn't
this
that
should be.
nice? Oh, wow. Okay, good for
Yeah,
you.
so this is we got married in 1998, but we've been together since 1995. And a few years back for Valentine's, I decided to purchase two of these. And I thought to myself, why don't I use this in my interviews? This is a perfect representation of us.
Not only that, but
But there's no white hair. When I purchased it, he has white hair.
I think you should honestly, I think that you should market that, becoming a power couple and have take orders and people could send in their photos and you could but you'd have to have a minimum order of 12 to make it worth your while and they can give it out to the whole family. I think that's a great idea.
Very
You
true.
know,
I love that idea, actually.
yeah, listen, I've been married almost 30 years. Maybe I'll speak to my wife and maybe we'll get a mug. We'll see what happens. So terrific. So you are a chemical engineer turned relationship coach. That's a career shift that you made 15 years ago. Uh, Tell us about that.
So when I was 35, oops, I disclosed my age. So when I was 35, I felt that I had it all. Obviously, I was happily married, the family, everything, but there was an emptiness, a lack of fulfillment or dissatisfaction in very simple words within. And that's when I started doing more inner work, and I realized that I was very misaligned in my career. I love engineering simply because it's that belief that you can have a vision, and then if you take the steps to design, to pilot, to commit, step by step you build it. So it's that belief that you can take an idea and make it reality. That's what truly attracted me to engineering. Specifically, I'm a chemical engineer, and I think now when I think back about chemical, it's all about chemistry, which is also, love is about chemistry. But I think that at that moment, I realized that it's not what I want to build. At that time, I was building Pentium 4s. I want to build something else. And one morning, you won't believe this. if I tell you, I woke up one morning from a dream, which I don't remember this time.
Hmm.
And I said, that's it. This is what I want to do. I want to become a coach. So from that moment of clarity, it was a question of getting certified properly and start building my business the way that I built any other product when I was an engineer. Really, a design, a vision, a design, and then one step at a time.
Where do you get your clients from? And do you meet in person or do you meet with them virtually? How does it work?
So until the pandemic, we were meeting in person. I had two locations, um, one downtown where we also provided trainings, and then we had a small office in the West Island. After the pandemic, all the operations moved online and it has stayed that way. So right now,
Interesting.
I can meet people all over the globe.
And do you actually have clients from outside of Canada, like in around the
I
world?
do. I have clients from outside of Canada. I have students from outside of Canada. I love that actually.
Yeah. So someone's watching this conversation right now. What would you do for them if they became a client? What are the kind of things you would do for them, and how long would these sessions last? Are they over a period of several weeks, months, years?
Well, it really depends. Obviously, in the first introductory session, we ask the person, what is that you want to work on? What's your ideal outcome, right?
Yeah.
And then from that, we can assess how many sessions, more or less. It's never, accurate, exact. Now, what I love about coaching, and that goes back to my engineering mindset, is that it's not a long-term relationship. It's a very targeted relationship with a goal in mind. Therefore, you're looking to serve this person in the fastest and more efficient way. Now, change takes time. That's true. You have to be able to embody what you want to create. But having said that, we're looking at usually from anything from 3 to 4 sessions to maybe 3 months of working together, depending on what the person wants. Now, working with couples is a little bit different. Because when I work with couples, we work with the couple together, but we also work separately. Why? Because if you remember from when you read the book, the first pillar of a healthy relationship is the me. The me meaning that I first need to address this baggage and the wounds that I bring into the relationship that has nothing
Yeah.
to do with the relationship. And for that purpose, we work with clients also separately. So usually we start meeting as a couple. There's a lot of education. So it's coaching and marriage education. We talk about what does it take to build a healthy relationship. We educate on the phases of the relationship so people understand where they are and they understand that is quite common actually. And then eventually, once we have done the first phase, we ask each partner to meet with me separately. And then we meet again as a couple to create a bridge of awareness and continue working together.
So, in view of that, I'm looking at some of parts of the book that you've dedicated yourself to helping couples build fulfilling and enduring relationships. Do you want to elaborate on what that means?
Yes. So for me, when I say fulfilling and enduring, in simple words, I mean becoming a power couple. What does it mean? There are 3 phases to the relationship. We have the honeymoon phase, where usually people don't seek for help. Some people actually, usually second marriages, they are in the honeymoon phase, but they know what comes after. So they are proactively seeking for help to make sure that they don't fall back into the same traps of the previous marriage. But for first marriage, usually at that phase, I don't see people, right?
Okay.
Which actually, I believe if we were to educate young adults on the pillars of a healthy relationship, we would do preventive work. But that's a whole different topic. So we have the honeymoon phase. Everything is beautiful. Everything is the color of my shirt. Lovely. Then we have the second phase. We transition into what we call the power struggle phase, when we start getting triggered by each other. And whatever I thought you were going to give me, you, my partner, we realize that I have to actually find on my own if we have that awareness. So this is the more challenging phase. And this is where usually couples reach out for help. We overcome that. And then we transition to that phase called power couple, the third phase. So when you say fulfilling and enduring, we are looking at that phase where you realize that your partner is your best friend, your confidant, the person you trust the most, your lover. When you hear their name, you have a smile on your face and you cherish this relationship above anything else. You, in fact, realize this is the most important relationship you have.
Yes, well said. So you write as well that from a young age you were consumed with the quest for finding your soulmate, and you had numerous dates and relationships, and you were always questioning if each man you met was the one. Do people in general look for their soulmate, or do a lot of people just, I wouldn't use the word settle for someone, but they get to a point, well, okay, I'm going to marry that person and that's going to be my marriage, and it's not their soulmate. Can you coach them into becoming soulmates?
Oh, what a beautiful question. That's a beautiful question. There's so much wisdom in that. Yes, absolutely, you can coach them into becoming a soulmate. Because what I encourage clients to understand is that rather than a soulmate being a person, right?
Yeah.
It's a soul, it's an energy, it's a consciousness. So the person next to you in bed can embody these qualities if you do your work first. And sometimes couples say, can I change this relationship? Just work. If my partner is not interested in doing the work, just me. Well, there's a lot you can do if it's just you. You can actually help that person embody the soulmate qualities, and then by doing the work yourself, and then you're going to start seeing them differently, and you just shifted the dynamic of the relationship. So there's a beautiful quote by Esther Perel, she says, I think it's in a TEDx talk, she says, you're going to be dating different people, or you're going to be having different relationships in your life. It doesn't always have to be a different person. You can restart with the same person and create something new. And I find that to be very inspirational and very true as well.
Yeah, no, it is, absolutely. So also interesting that you talk about in part of the book, creating a marriage constitution. Something that, geez, I never thought of that before. Is this something that you've coached people to success with, who have done a marriage constitution? And tell me, what is a marriage constitution?
So a marriage constitution, I think it's more needed today more than everything else, is an agreement between two people. And it's not a written agreement. It's an exercise, okay? It's a discussion. Right. It's not a prenup, okay? It's not a legal document, obviously. It's a discussion between two people, of a discussion about what are the things you will not tolerate in your partner.
Right.
Because we come from different homes. Even if you come from the same culture, the same religion, the same nationality, we come from different homes. And what's acceptable in one home might be completely unacceptable in another one. So this is when you tell your partner, look, these are the things that I know I won't be able to live with. I'll give you an example. And this one is an easy one. It's not so emotional. For me, it was very clear, I will not marry a smoker. Okay. My dad.
Same here.
My dad died of lung cancer. He was a heavy smoker. And that was a promise I made to myself. But we are also looking into more soft qualities. For example, I will not tolerate that you come home drunk. And the idea is that, or that you call in names. In some homes, calling your partner, are you stupid? Are you crazy? It's not a big deal. I know in my home, that would be, even people wouldn't consider, my family wouldn't consider saying those words, calling on names, not only between couples, but also with your children. So you have to be able to have these discussions, but not only make a list and say, here's my list. The goal is to have a discussion and to explain why. If you're saying, I will not tolerate you coming home drunk, you probably going to say, look, maybe my father was an alcoholic or my mother was an alcoholic. And then you can talk about the way you grew up and the things that you know you will not be able to live with. So, education for the children, what kind of education, things like that. So I think it's important to have these conversations in the beginning of the relationship, but it's never too late, actually. Because then people say, I didn't know it was that such a big deal for you. I didn't know it was a big deal. That's a very common sentence.
Right. That's a good point. You also talk about expenses. You even get into expenses and how that impacts the marriage because, I mean, money is obviously a big sticking point in so many marriages. One partner spending money that the other partner doesn't agree upon. So you get into that as well.
Yes, and the way that I like to look at money and is really from the partnership perspective. I grew up in a home that my parents had a share account. I know that when I got married, we had a share account.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everybody has to have a share account, okay? But I do say that having a share account forces the couple to have those discussions about money. And it's very, very important. Like you said, money is one of the biggest reasons why people end up divorced. So it's very important that you and your partner see your money as it's our money, as a unity, and take share responsibility on how you allocate your resources. So there's no blaming. Oh, you did that. You didn't tell me. Oh, that didn't go well, but you wanted to invest in that. Even if one of the partners is doing a business investment that didn't go well, the decision has to be made together. And my husband and I, we have a WhatsApp group, just him and I. We call
Really?
it, yes, we have a WhatsApp group. In the beginning, I used to call it expenses. And then my friend said, no, don't call it expenses, call it abundance. I said, you're right. So we call it our abundance. And every time we make a purchase, even if you spend $2 at the dollar store, we write the date, the place, and the purchase. So then once every few days, I will take that information into an Excel sheet. And we know what our expenses are and how we allocate our money. That make us feel we're in this together. It's not to control each other. No, by all means, nobody will tell each other, don't do that. It's just for us to know where our money is going.
So you also talk about that ensuring your relationship remains vibrant and never to put your marriage on hold while raising your kids.
Very important. Yeah, very important. I think I learned that from my parents. I always heard that story that when I was 6 months old, my parents went away for a week and left me with my grandma, which I adore. So I guess I was okay with that. But yes, that's a very common mistake that couples do, that the belief that the moment children are born, then the relationship, takes a backstage, and sexuality as well. And it's a huge mistake because then you end up with an empty nest, an empty marriage. So we always prioritize. In fact, I believe that the core of the family is the couple, and that's why you always want to prioritize it. If you have a strong couple, the children will feel safe. So, everybody within their budget, but I like to encourage people to take on the habit of the bronze, the silver, the gold habit. What does it mean? The bronze will be have a weekly date where you spend 90 minutes together. Doesn't have to be an expense if you cannot allow for babysitter and things. It could be once the kids go to sleep, you sit in the balcony with a glass of wine or tea. Then have it once a month, a day that you spend the entire day together, or if you can get away for a weekend, even if it's in the same city, by the way. You can leave the kids with their grandparents and go away somewhere. And once a year, have a vacation alone. Spend time together. Love gets rekindled as you learn more about your partner. So that's a journey that ideally never ends. You're always deepening your connection by discovering more about that person. But in order to do that, you have to spend time together.
My final question is, this book, who is it meant for?
So this book is meant for anybody who wants to have a fulfilling, happy marriage. or committed relationship, even if it's not a marriage. My daughter, who's 23, read it. Okay. So we want to give this information because to young adults, because usually young adults believe, especially when you are in the honeymoon phase, that all it takes to be happy is to love each other. Right? Love is what gets you together. It's not what keeps you together. So it's very important that couples understand that love won't last unless you fertilize it and invest in it. And that's where the word commitment comes in, right? If there was one word that this book screams, is commitment. When you commit to the relationship, love gets rekindled. Commitment is active, it's daily, and it's also on days that you don't necessarily feel like it, right? So ideally, we want to start with young couples before they form these relationships to have this knowledge, but it's good for any couple because you can always discover something new and they say, oh, this is the next thing I'm going to do to rekindle my relationship. So I would say it's for anybody who wants that feeling, that divine feeling of being a power couple.
Okay. So how can people get a copy of this book during this beautiful month of February on the eve, as we air this on the eve of Valentine's Day? Where can they get a copy?
Amazon. They can go to my website, gabrielaembon.com, and it will direct them to Amazon, but it's also on amazon.ca.com. Just they can Google Becoming a Power Couple or my name and purchase it there.
All right. Well, that's been great talking to you. It's a great book. I strongly recommend it. And I can't wait for the sequel.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Great having Gabriela Embon as my guest today.